Everyone stay calm, stay calm. I know.
Everyone, hold on to something.
Calm down. Hey everyone, and welcome to Constructed Chaos. Today I wanted to take a very close look at something near and dear to my heart as a cinematographer and as a DM in the new D&D movie trailer that was just released. I've spent the last 24 hours or so scouring the video and the annals of history, the internet, for as many clues and references as I could find. And I wanted to give my own impression as someone who has worked on set for large productions like this to try and gauge how well I think they're doing.
Enough banter! Show us the movie, you nillywit!
I know. Let's get rolling here. I can hardly wait myself. But everyone should know that I'll definitely be discussing things at varying degrees of spoileriness from here on. So enter at your own peril. You have been warned. Let's kick things off with a session 0 and talk about some of the characters here. Based on some separate content, we now know that Chris Pine's character will be playing a bard that may or may not also rely on some sword skills. Justice Smith will be playing a sorcerer that, let's be honest, will probably fall under the wild magic umbrella, but also maybe not. Michelle Rodriguez is bringing the action with a badass barbarian character. Sophia Lillis will be a druid with some interesting capabilities, but more on that in a moment. And is she a tiefling, perhaps? Regé-Jean Page will be a badass paladin with a very interesting weapon that I can't wait to talk about. And finally, we have a somewhat counterculture rogue in Hugh Grant, though he doesn't appear to be aligned with our party for most of what we can see. Already, we have lots of intrigue here. It seems like the producers are playing this how I think I would have, creating a movie with strong ties to the actual mechanics and feel of D&D without taking itself too seriously and competing with the likes of Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, and other similar properties. But enough about that, let's get into the trailer because there's a lot to unpack here. Our first shot opens on the beautiful landscape of a city by the sea. Originally, I thought this city might be Waterdeep, and indeed, it does look as though this adventure may take us there eventually. But based on some of the content put out by Wizards of the Coast after this trailer dropped, I actually think that what we're seeing here is Neverwinter. For those who have never graced its shores, Neverwinter is a location on the Sword Coast seated quite a bit to the north in the midst of a rather frigid region. However, the city itself is nestled in a pocket of warmth and near the base of a volcano called Mount Hotanau.
Yes, indeed. It is quite hot now.
This locale has such an effect that the city never experiences the thralls of winter in full, and it never really snows there, hence the name. Our next shot appears to take us within the city, revealing crowds running in the opposite direction of our heroes, some interesting red and blue banners in the background, and a statue of a golden dragon that we'll circle back to in just a bit. It's also worth showing off here that with a bit of pixel peeping, we can spy our party sorcerer carrying a bag that very much matches the look of a bag of holding. Glad to see that this item will likely be making an appearance. I wonder how long Chris Pine can hold his breath. Next, we get our very first look at a dungeon in real life. Very true to form here, and I love the little bridges that connect the various rocky islands held aloft by a series of metal chains. It's very much impractical and very much what I'd expect in staying true to the source material here. We see some depictions of what appear to be deep gnomes in statue form in the next shot, but due to some things we'll see later, I think this actually might be near or within the Duergar city of Gracklstugh. Also, a funny detail I'm seeing here as a 3D printing nerd is that the statues without heads appear to have some protrusions that remind me a bit of what a lot of multi-part prints come with. It probably isn't that, but I'd really love the deep cut joke for us super nerds if it is. Then it looks like our paladin springs open a mechanical chest to reveal an apparently important magic item. At first glance, I thought it could be a helm of telepathy, but now I feel it could be something else entirely. It looks like it has some depictions of dragons or snakes on the front, but I'm not sure. Any guesses in the comments? While you think on that and moving back to our Neverwinter location, it appears we have a massive battle taking place against an opposing army and a black dragon that spews acid and causes a fiery trebuchet to misfire. Nice! Less than 20 seconds in and we have our first dungeon and our first dragon. I also really like that we're getting some representation in terms of dragons that aren't just the fire-breathing variety, as I feel this is one aspect that really sets D&D apart from other properties. Now it looks like we're back on the coast with a small wrecked ship added in here. I doubt this plays into the story much, but I love that little bit of extra detail. Looks like our bard has now donned a suit of armor and, Wait a minute, is that a symbol of the Harpers? It seems like Chris Pine's character will either be one of their number or possibly just impersonating one, as bards so often do. But for those unaware, the Harpers are a secretive organization that has risen and fallen time and time again throughout Faerun. And without getting into too much detail, their beliefs and goals are relatively simple: to gather as much information as possible and to ensure that power is spread to all and not just focused in one leader, government, or group. I guess if they're a mostly secret organization, it might not pay well to impersonate one, so maybe Mr. Pine is a Harper in secret. A Harper masquerading as a typical bard certainly does evoke some interesting imagery. Now someone cue the evil music! We have a powerful artifact of untold evil here. My best guess on what this might be is the Horn of Orcus, given some other relevant clues we'll see in just a moment, but it could also be something else. But it isn't, I don't think. Oh, and as a cinematographer, I absolutely love the reflections in this person's eyes here. Not sure if they added that in post, but it's a pretty rad shot. Next, we're taking a page out of some Stranger Things vibes with this wicked red vine looking magic in a dark and cloudy realm, and looks to me that the evil faction at play here has to be the Red Wizards of Thay. And who are Thay? Well, I'm so glad you asked. A cult of demon lovers with a dedication to creating a nation of undead. So, it's the Horn of Orcus, right? In particular, our big bad evil guy looks most likely to be Saz-Tam, whose name is very hard to pronounce, and who seized control over the Red Wizards after some years of political blah 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 that I'm sure everyone would love to see in a movie. For the record, I love the Star Wars prequels and I love political intrigue, but it's not for everyone, obviously. Now moving past a fight with some Red Wizards, it looks like we might be seeing a fun interpretation of the slow or time stop spell. I'm excited to see it, but if they do the damn X-Men thing again like so many other movies have, it's gonna bother me. It was cool one time. Let it go. Next, we get a look at what's likely the Neverwinter Wood with a spooky looking reddish brown spider that I didn't notice on my first watch through. Truly, sometimes the best effects are the ones that you don't notice on your first viewing. And why, might you be asking, are the trees and ground red at the bottom? I'm not sure, actually. Maybe you can let me know down in the comments. And while you're down there creating chaos, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more dumb references and D&D dad jokes. That goes so much. Skipping over this sense of impending doom, yep, don't like that, we now land in a scene with a smaller town that's likely further north of Neverwinter. And this makes sense because just a few shots later we're hit with our first shot in a sequence of prison scenes that presumably take place in the location of Revel's End, a top security prison located in Icewind Dale. And interestingly enough, it's been revealed by Wizards of the Coast that this location was placed into the Rime of the Frost Maiden adventure back in 2020, specifically for use in this movie because the creators wanted a prison scene. Some people might not like the forced lore here, but I think it's extremely cool to see such long-founded and deep collaboration between Wizards of the Coast and this production. Stuff like that really bodes well, usually. Like how Disney execs bought Star Wars and then completely ignored any and all of George Lucas's lore and ideas. Yep. Great job there. Sorry for the mini rant, but I was probably just feeling the rage after seeing this awesome barbarian scene from Michelle Rodriguez, and is that a flame tongue axe of some kind? Speaking of magical weapons, it's finally time to peep this awesome paladin sword that shoots out the main blade to reveal, surprise, another smaller blade. Super cool. And it looks like we're getting to see a bit more about this helmet from earlier as Justice Smith does some magic stuff with it. Maybe a thunderwave? I don't know. This is probably one of the only things I can't seem to figure out just yet. Whatever it is, it seems to be rippling through the entire city in several shots afterwards, so it's definitely powerful. And now we get to see something I'm sure many of you had thoughts about the first time watching the trailer. I know I did. The party druid appears to shape change into a polar owlbear here, which isn't normally allowed since owlbears are classified as monstrosities. At first I thought this could just be Rule of Cool taking center stage, but now I'm starting to think that this could be our first look at a new druid subclass. I could be way off base here, but how cool would that be? Flash forward a bit and it looks like we're riding near or next to Mount Houghton now. That gold dragon statue from earlier comes to life, seemingly attacking Chris Pine. Oh no, not Chris Pine, he was like half of the budget! An interesting interpretation of Dimension Door or some kind of teleport. The Underdark makes an appearance and what I can only assume is Menzo Baronzon. Green Flame Blade on a warlock looking drow, maybe? The Paladin kicking some ass, Witch Bolt, Firebolt thwarted by a shield spell, and our typical circling hero shot with a twist a la Avengers. These quick cuts are really highlighting some of the great use of special effects, and I think they really shine here, unlike some other recent Hollywood releases. And can we talk about this amazingly done mimic here? As probably one of the most recognizable D&D monsters, I'm so happy to see this making an appearance, and I love the interpretation of its movement by sticking its tongue to a wall and shooting itself across the floor. Feel free to steal some of that flavor for your next D&D session. Speaking of classic creatures, we get a double feature here as the heroes jump into a gelatinous cube to avoid the attack of a displacer beast. I don't know about those tactics, honestly. It could result in a TPK. Next, I see what appears to be a magic missile being used on an enemy red wizard, except for one key factor. It misses. So maybe it's something more like a twin spell Ray of Frost? We get a really cool visual interpretation of Misty Step immediately after this, and oh my god, is that not the chonkiest dragon you've ever seen? Chonkers!
Yes, that does appear to be quite the chunky boy.
Look, if Wizards of the Coast does not market a plush of what is so obviously Thimberchod the Red Dragon after this movie releases, I'm going to be extremely upset. The creature is said to live in the city of Gracklstugh for anyone unfamiliar, and I think they nailed the look and feel of it. This is also why I figured the party might be in or near Gracklstugh earlier in the trailer. And wow, what a great shot to end the trailer on, but if Regé-Jean Page slays this enormous chonker, I'm going to be so mad. Oh, and there is one final scene post-title that has a bit of witty banter as the party appears to be recruiting the Tiefling Druid. There's not much to be said about this that I can see other than the fact that the set design, wardrobe, and lighting really do look pretty damn great. At this point, the movie is far exceeding my expectations, and I'm getting a lot of great signals from the content Wizards of the Coast has posted relating to the film. It seems like the directors are staying on track with what I'd expect from a D&D movie, with a great representation of the game and mechanics throughout. Sure, a lot of people are probably not going to love the slightly comedic mood they appear to be aiming for, and I for one am not a huge fan of many Marvel movies for that very reason. But as I mentioned earlier, I think this was the right direction to take this specific property. But what do you think? Do you despise the relative lack of grit, death, and danger compared to earlier editions? Do you think we'll see a fun cameo of someone like Matt Mercer in the film? Or do you think Chris Pine might die in the first 5 minutes as a Harper and come back a few minutes later as a Bard? Be sure to let me know down in the comments, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and as always, go out there and make some chaos.